Golf's no different from hockey. Requires talent, self-discipline.
Golf requires goofy pants and a fat ass. You should talk to my neighbor, the accountant, probably a great golfer, huge ass.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height.
It's a very, very special honor.
I'm Paula Creamer, and you're listening.
Well, we're waiting.
Hi, this is Martin Cove, a.k.a. John Kreese from Cobra Kai, and you're listening to
Quiet, Please.
Let the word go out from here across the land. Let Daddy Noonan approve.
Hi, boys. Nice day for golf, ain't it? Quiet, please. Oh, you got secrets, eh?
Hey, this is Shooter McGavin. You're listening to the...
Hey, you guys. Hey, we're trying to have a podcast over here.
Indeed, we are. Welcome back once again to Quiet Please, the Golf Podcast. I'm Alan Depew, where we try to bring you the exciting destinations, the innovations in the game, and the men and women that are shaping the future of golf as we know it. And perhaps one person that would jump to the front of that list was concluded work on Monday, in fact. Rory McIlroy with his exciting victory at the 51st Players Championship. Has got a lot of people talking. Is this going to be the catalyst for Rory to have a monster year? Is he going to have a major in the future? And I have the panel here to discuss once again. To my left, looking a little toasty after a day on the range, but my man B.E. Brendan Elliott doing his Stuart Sink imitation.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. To my immediate right, hailing from Kentucky, Boston, Bob Baldessari.
Bourbon is good for suntans, Brendan.
Bourbon is good for
good for everything.
And the ever-present one, Andy Hydorn, golfing savant.
Not even sure what all that means, but I am somewhat present.
Hey, you put numbers out there, and now you just confirmed everything we heard. And I'm going to go right to you. Hey, what did I write here on my notes here? What a finish, Rory. Heads up. I mean, Andy, you get first dibs on this. I'm going to say it. This was probably the most exciting for me Players Championship I've watched.
Well, you guys will all be surprised to know that I picked Rory to win, as I pick him to win every tournament he plays in.
Right.
It actually paid off a little bit this time, which was nice.
Nice.
But yeah, it was interesting. While I was working, here in front of my computer and had the players on in the background. Right there, and it was the featured group thing on ESPN Plus, so I got to watch him play basically every shot in his first round. He hit it all over the place, and I think the stats for the tournament were something like less than 50% of the fairways he hit, and for him to win, I think is incredible. One thing that I do want to say, which I think is so crucial for him, for his career, and this may be overstating it a little bit. I don't think it is. The putt he made on 18 to get into the playoff.
Yep.
I mean, it almost didn't go in, but it did go in. It was from 6 feet or 5.5 or whatever it was.
Right.
I just think if that putt doesn't go in for him, that's too many demons to deal with, in successive important circumstances. And I think that would have been really hard to recover from. And the fact that putt went in, he immediately the next morning, on Monday morning, made another 6-footer for birdie on 16. I just think that that's really, really important to his psyche going forward.
B.
I think that's going to be the driving force for him this year of getting it done, meaning winning the Masters and getting the career Grand Slam. He's very much a momentum player for sure, and when things are going good, like they have been the last couple of weeks, you just feel good about his chances. Yeah, I mean, I was super happy to see him win. I did feel bad for JJ. I mean, Andy's a competitor. He knows how dismantling the win can be, and how, when you feel like you had that shot down, you're hitting it on the range, meaning the 17th, the tee shot on 17, and feel like you had the number, and just to have it go through the wind like that. I feel bad for him, but kudos to Rory.
Yeah, and before you guys chime in, just one other thing on that. They had the wind gauge up on the screen, and the wind gauge was going from 23 to 14 to 7 to 4 to 15. Like, it's all a luck thing with timing. And I just think there's so much luck involved when the wind's blowing like that. And he just caught a bad break.
Yep.
Bobby, let you chime in on that, but I wanted to just actually take it back earlier to BE's point, or actually Andy's point about hitting it all over the world. There was a series of clutch shots. I mean, Rory just 18 blows it dead right the first day in the pine straw, hits this little punch cutter up there. I mean, he just seemed like in the moment. Was that your impression?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a type of golf course that you hit great shots, you don't get great results sometimes. You get less than great shots, you can get lucky. Luck always plays a part in these golf events. It always has for me, for anybody. You get a bounce, you misread, hit a putt, it goes in, you get on a roll. For JJ Spaun, I was texting you guys right when he left that putt short on 18 the last day. And my strong conviction was, get it to the hole. How many times have we said, the USGA's stats about 98.7352 percentage putts left short don't go in? joke pause. It's true. And the guys are so good with their speed control. That was basically.
I just got that.
Yeah. We'll pause. If I'm the caddy, you got to give it a run, because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And if I bring you all back to that glorious football game in the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Rams a few years ago, and John Madden, that expert telecaster, saying the Patriots are moving it down the field, and he was thinking they shouldn't do this, they should play for overtime. And then after a few plays, he goes, I kind of like this. So you never know what can happen. I think I think if he three putts and runs it by, he's feeling disappointed. If he leaves it short, right dead in the teeth, that's just gonna get in his head for a while.
I'll just throw a counterpoint out to that from 15 feet, 100% I agree with you. Like 1,000,000% I agree. From 30, I mean, he left it like 6
2 rotations.
Before.
Yeah, two more rotations in the jar.
I don't think Tiger leaves it short, or not that it's fair comparison. I don't know. I was watching that and I was saying it out loud. Please get it to the hole. Please give it a run. Please give it a try. He's a good story. It's a really neat story. You want to root for the guy. And I mean, the payday wasn't so bad for second place. So it was
great payday. B, did you have the sense that I did that, he was doing the self-talk in the interview, and JJ's like, look, Rory's supposed to win, but I believe in myself. He was doing all those important things to try to prepare himself. But obviously in that moment, the magnitude of that moment, you could tell on Monday morning, he did not have the same focus and attention, and probably rightfully so. But here's actually my other question. Rory, 3-shot lead, 5 holes to play. To Andy's point, if he misses the putt on 18, does suddenly become Rory the non-closer?
Right. Yeah.
100%.
And that's the way storylines go in this game. Like, it's a flip of the coin. It really is. And you can, in an alternate universe, that was the storyline. Rory just can't get it done in the big events. And but again, I think this was a stepping stone for JJ. he really felt like he belonged there, and I think he was probably lacking that up until this point. And he said it a couple times. I feel like I can hang in there with these guys, and sometimes getting the win isn't necessarily what's going to get you to your next milestone. And I think this was a big week for him regardless.
Crazy stat of the week, and I think I text you guys in the group, but they showed how many career tour starts JJ Spaun has and how many career tour starts Rory has, and they're remarkably close.
Yeah.
Rory has more, but not a ton more.
No, actually Rory has less starts, but it was 236 to like 217 if I remember, but I mean obviously wins.
Rory had a little more. But think about it. Rory's been out there since he was that chubby, curly-haired kid, and that seems like forever ago. And the fact that JJ Spaun has almost as many starts as Rory is mind-blowing. One other point I want to make too, because I feel like people are giving JJ Spaun too much shit for his performance in the playoff. So if you go shot by shot, it's a good drive on 16. Ends up being pushed, into the rough a little bit, trail wind. It's a really good second shot out of the rough. I think his bunker shot was the shot that, if anything, was the most substandard.
Yeah.
And then, like we talked about on 17, you can't really fault him for that.
Well, but you also texted in our little thread there, you can't leave that putt on 16 short. I mean,
true.
Yeah.
But continue. I'm sorry. Did not mean to interrupt.
I was done. I was just saying, like, there were people online who were saying that he should be embarrassed with his performance. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding? Like, he has nothing to be embarrassed of.
Look at all the guys he beat, all the top names that didn't make the cut. He did great.
He showed up Monday morning ready to play.
Yep.
You know what? It's not like he all of a sudden lost his golf game. It didn't go perfectly for him, but I just hate that narrative that people think he should be embarrassed because he lost a 3-hole playoff in 30-mile-an-hour winds.
My point wasn't that he should be embarrassed. My point was the magnitude of the situation for a journeyman player was immense on the guy, but it's a learning opportunity for him.
And he hit the shot he wanted. I mean, he really did on 17. It just, like Andy said earlier, he got unlucky. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I even commented, I love that wind graphic that they were putting up where the wind over top of the tower and the wind coming around the tower. It was crazy.
Yeah. That was awesome. But like just the mile per hour gauge, how it just, you think, 30-mile-an-hour winds, he's hitting it into a 30-mile-an-hour wind, whether he hits it now or in 10 seconds or in 20 seconds. No, that's not the way it works.
So then that leads you to the next question, Mr. Hydorn, your famous expression, events and venues, right? Is it time to talk about the Players' Championship being a 5th major after 51 years? And does the 17th hole an unfavorable hole? I'm going to put 2 questions out there to the group. Major, unfair golf hole. Anyone?
I'll go last on this one.
I'll go.
All right.
So I'm going to ask a question back to answer that. What constitutes something being a major championship? Like who makes the call on this thing? I know that the women have 5. I don't think the number's a problem. I just think we're so used to 4. But some of the stuff I've been reading online is, the history, and you talked about it's over 50 years old now. The Masters having one venue over a long period of time, that's a checkbox or check mark for me. And then what the players continue to say, Rory couldn't say enough good things about how the tournament just keeps getting better and better year after year for the players. And I was a little shocked by his comment that not to say that TPC doesn't deserve this, but he says it's one of the best. It's the best tournament for the players and how they're taken care of, which you'd expect. It's their flagship event for their association, but I would have thought the Masters would have been up there as one of the best. But I can't make. Okay, I'll say yes. We can call it the 5th major. That's my vote.
I'm going to give a little historical perspective if you're ready for some math.
Here we go.
Here we go. You ready?
Wait a minute. Okay, hang on a second, Bobby. Hang on.
Don't put the calculator up there. Oh, geez, here we go. Okay, so to Brendan's point, the modern Golf Pros Grand Slam was coined by Bob Drum, the iconic writer of the Pittsburgh Press, in 1960 on an airplane ride with him and Arnie to the Open Championship. So to your point, Brendan, if Bob Drum, the writer, can just create the modern Grand Slam, I'm making an about turn here. For the longest time, I'm like, no, 444. But if you look into the math on this a little bit, the Open Championship started 1860. In 1960, when Bob Drum says this comment, the Open was 100 years old. Okay. The U.S. Open started in 1865. So in 1960, it's 65 years old. The PGA Championship started in 1916. It was 44 years old. The Masters tournament starts in the 1930s. It's even younger. So you've got 2 events, 2 majors that were less than 50 years old that Bob Drum says, hey, they should be majors. 2 of them were obviously older. The Players Championship is 51 years old now. The other thing is the Masters, same course all the time. The Players has been at TPC Sawgrass for many, many years. The Open Championship is in that tight rotation. There, as you said, there's been a lot of golf writers, esteemed historian writers that are terrific about looking at what the game is all about. And now they're starting to say, maybe, just maybe, the way the Players Championship is constructed, the history, should it be a major? I mean, it's a great it's a great bar discussion. Arnie in 1960, Arnie had won he had won the Masters in the U.S. Open. So that's where Bob Drum was saying, hey, you can win this modern day Golf Pros Grand Slam, the Bobby Jones Grand Slam, the impregnable quadrilateral. I get that right? That was U.S. Open, the Open Championship, the British Amateur, and the U.S. Amateur. So you had amateur events. So there's a little historical context there. You call me the historian. I love this stuff. And so, I don't know, it's making me really pause now to say, is it time?
I'm about to mute Andy because I got to get mine in, and then he's going to wrap it up here. Great points, Bobby. I don't dare follow that, but I'm going to try by saying Augusta is steeped in history for the longest, and the legend of the game at that time in Bobby Jones. The other 3 are the longest associations. So in this case, the PGA Tour is the youngest kid on the block. Does that make a difference? And now, Mr. Hydorn, lay it on us.
Yeah. So it's a major for me, right? I love the Players. I love that golf course. It's one of the top 5 golf courses I've ever played in my life, and I've had the opportunity to play some incredible places. But I love TPC Sawgrass, and there's not much that I look forward to more than watching the Players. That being said, the only thing that gives me any pause at all is that golfers are judged based on their majors, their major victories. And I think if you look at the numbers as they are now, and you throw the Players in there as a major, I would love to do the exercise of seeing what that does to the numbers and seeing who it elevates, who leapfrogs over who. Because I think at the end of the day that becomes, and like you said, Bobby, Bob Drum is the one that kind of invented the terminology of majors. So it means, a quote from one of favorite movies. It means nothing, but it means everything. And it's a tough one for that reason for me. But for me personally, again, I love that event. I love that venue.
So I believe Jack picks up another 3, right?
Right. He goes, yeah, he picks up 3. I think Tiger's still behind him. Everybody bumps up a little bit. There's not, I don't think, a huge drastic rearranging.
Yeah, except for the Gene Sarazen's and the Walter Hagens and those guys get leapfrogged by a bunch of people.
Right. Right.
Ben Hogan's.
Hogan, Palmer. Yeah.
I mean, and you can say, I don't know if it's a fair analogy, but all the other major sports, they've extended their playoffs. So regular season, record book, playoffs, Super Bowls, whatever, it's the history book. It's the same as the PGA Tour, record book during the year, the majors are the history books. You know, you look at some of these players that are going to go in the Hall of Fame and compared to Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, you know, like they're just, it's not even a level playing field, but that's what makes it a fun discussion.
So let me ask one. I touched on it. Is 17 an unfair golf hole? It's asked every year, especially in exceptionally windy conditions.
It's the perfect golf hole. It's the perfect golf hole. Like
perfect golf hole.
Yes.
And look, I feel like, and I've played it a few times. If you want to hit the middle of the green there, you can hit the middle of the green on 17. It's a big green. Now, the beauty of that hole is it has that back center left pin. It's got that back right pin. It's got that front pin. Like it's segmented like beautifully, and it makes it play small. And if people are going at the pin, it plays small. But if you really need to hit it on the green, you know, assuming there's not a 30-mile-an-hour wind that changes to 5 and goes to 20 and changes to 10, it's an easy shot to hit the green. That's it.
And even if you're not
the 3 most phenomenal finishing holes, the best finish.
I would echo that. I absolutely agree with you on that, Andy. I think they're, because the risk reward on all 3 of them are incredible.
And you can ask Pat Perez, you don't have to hit it close and you can still make a putt.
Yeah.
It's better than most. Bobby?
Yes, sir.
You didn't weigh in. 17, friend or foe?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a perfect call. If you're talking about in the context of the Players Championship, the best players playing there, like you need to test them. It's towards the end of the round typically. And like Andy said, I've been there. I haven't played the course, but I've been there a few times. We had drive, chip, and putt qualifiers there. And you look at it from the tee and you go, geez, that's hittable. And so, yeah, Andy, if you're in a tournament, you just feel like you got to hit in the middle and make 2 putts and get out of there, you can do that. But these players are so good, and they know you're already just a half a yard, maybe less, and they're going to be so sophisticated on club selections and hitting it that I think sometimes they might overanalyze a little bit. Maybe the adrenaline gets in there as well.
Can we also quickly just talk about the preparation? I was struck by how JJ Spaun and Rory prepared for the playoff by taking their TrackMan out to the range and seeing how far their 9 irons and 8 irons were flying in the air into that same wind that they'd be playing on 17. Can you imagine?
I thought they said that they were able to simulate the tee shot on 16, but there was no way to simulate the shot on 17 from off the range. I thought I heard him say that.
No,
I thought I heard I thought I heard that they had to turn a different direction on the range, but they could simulate it, is what I thought.
Got it.
And there is a front and the back to that range too.
Oh, they must have gone the other side of the range then. Yeah. Okay.
So last point on the players before we move on. Got a couple other good topics. Catalyst for Rory. He's 2 good venues he's won at this year. Is suddenly Rory, is it his year?
I'm going to take the Kentucky. Yeah, I'll take the Kentucky horse theory. Ride that horse. Just keep behind that horse. I think he's going to play well. What the heck could? I think he gets his Masters this year.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, you know where I stand with Rory. Probably blindly loyal to his golfing prowess. So I think he's set himself up for a pretty good year.
B.
I would love to see Rory win, but I think Scotty's very, very hungry right now. And based on what we've seen the last couple of years out of him, a hungry Scotty is not necessarily somebody you want to be messing with. So a playoff between those two would be phenomenal.
I've seen the Masters dinner menu. I'd be hungry also, just throwing that little whip.
That's a good menu. Likely put ravioli on there too.
It's really good. It's a really good looking menu. You know where Rory was though after his victory? Sitting in the stands at the TGL playoffs. Perfect segue for that. Year one, nearly wrapped up. Pass or fail, BB.
C-. I don't know. I'm still not convinced. I think it's a good try. Maybe if they can make a lot of tweaks and come back next year, and let's see what the viewership is next year. I do like the idea it's in this off season. I'm all for innovation. You know that. I'm all for anything to try to get people thinking about golf 24/7 if it can happen. But I think it's still a work in progress, which is okay.
Andy?
B+ for me. I love it. I think watching them and really watching them closely, I think the green situation is frustrating for them, both around the greens and on the greens. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed the green has weird breaks to it, and that synthetic turf rounds and caves in the hole. It just looks really tough. But overall, B+. I think that the way that they've evolved through the season and changed the hammer rules, I think the guys are starting to get used to when and how to use the hammer. I love it. I love it. I think it's just going to get better.
BE?
I'd probably give it about the same grade that Andy did. When the matches are exciting, it's an A+. Like some of those, the comeback, Justin Sema, Atlanta, that comeback, that was ridiculous. That was awesome. And when you can get the crowd going, it's just like a whole different type of atmosphere. I think one thing they could do next year to make it a little bit better, I don't know how they would do this, but I think it was on his Instagram, Kyle Berkshire played that 600 and something yard par 5, and he hit like an 8-iron in on his second shot. So maybe getting some of these celebrity athletes or YouTubers or something in there just to, change things up a little bit. Maybe not compete per se, but just be in there, and that would help a little bit, I think.
So that leads right into my follow-up question. You segued beautifully on that one, sir, which is, what ways would you, each of us on the panel, and I want to go first because I had a long conversation this morning with son number one about this. Andrew says we need to expand the number of teams and we need to have team captains. I agreed with him. You could protect one of the players on your existing teams and everybody else goes back into a draft. Do you throw in LIV players? I don't know. Interesting concept. If you had Brooksy and Bryson and the boys. How about the integration of Lydia Ko or Nelly Korda?
There you go.
And Bobby, I agree with you. You know, you look at probably the best marketer out there in professional sports is clearly the NFL, right? And they're always in your face. They're in your, they're on Monday nights, they're on Thursday nights, they're on Sunday nights. And as you get closer to the playoffs, they're going to be on Saturdays and they're going to have this and I love the fact that this is another media that allows us to showcase golf. But what say you guys for what would you do if you are Tiger and Rory and TGL? Bobby? No, Andy. Let's go, Andy.
So I think the more teams thing makes sense. I think maybe even adding another player to the team, having 6 players on a team. I'm guessing that And by the way, there's $20 million that goes to the winning team.
Yeah.
To be split between 4 players. I mean, that for the longest time, that would have been the richest tournament prize in golf. So I think that's pretty amazing. But I think that more teams, more players. I believe that more players are going to be clamoring to get involved after this first inaugural season. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of getting the women involved. I would be a fan of having women do their own league, but like if you bring in women, you're dealing with huge differences in driving distances and the holes, and you'd have to have some sort of way to make up for that. But yeah, that's kind of where I feel it should head.
Brendan?
I like everything that you listed, AD, and what Andy said. And I got to thinking, having the women would be pretty cool too, having their own thing. But just as equally cool would be having, some of your Champions Tour guys like Freddie Couples or Bernard Longer, or getting those guys into the mix too.
Well, really, Bobby, isn't it really about the personalities? This is the opportunity for them to demonstrate that they aren't robots. They have personalities. They're not Jimmy Johnson sitting in the 48 Ford, and then he's able to get out and he can talk. That I think is where they're making a segue. What say you, sir?
Well, I was going to bring that point up. Andy made great points. Brendan, totally agree. Imagine if Chi-Chi and Trevino and Tommy Bolt, to go way back, were in this thing. Like, you talk about Walter Hagen, you talk about iconic personalities. That would be nice. I think that for the and I truly have not seen a whole lot of this. I keep seeing small bits. Haven't sat through one entire thing yet, but the personalities I thought would come out a little more. I think that's the part they're working on. Totally agree. A few more teams. Totally agree. If there was a ladies division, totally agree. A champions division, totally agree. I wish they would just grab some amateur golfer out of some municipal golf course and throw them out there every now and then as part of it. Like, just, if this is going to be so unique and different, could they really engage the everyman golfer out there? Just a whole bunch of stuff goes in my head. Sometimes it's a little crazy, but
how cool would that be? I mean, seriously, how cool would that be? That poor guy may not be able to take the club back.
Even you can putt on that green, though, Alan.
Oh, I can putt on that green, Andy.
Yeah.
Even change up the formats. If it was scrambles or alternates or whatever. I think there's a lot there that could happen. And again, it was just the first year getting through, find out what's going on, the acoustics, just everything.
Here's the other thing. It's a single-use facility that they spent a gajillion dollars building out.
Right.
Like single use. You can't do other stuff in there.
Right.
So I mean the thought of expanding, the competitions to other groups, I think just seems to make sense.
You could put adaptive golf. If you really want to, Brendan, cover your ears. Your cheeks are already red. They're going to get redder when I say this, but God forbid we grow the game or try to do some things. This could be just one more vehicle, one more ammunition. Your cheeks are looking awfully rosy.
Bobby just blew the show notes. We're going to grow the game.
Your head is not looking rosy.
All right. Perfect segue, because I'll tell you who I don't believe is growing the game. Wait a minute. Gotta wait for it.
No, Q Mixers definitely grow the game.
No.
Q Mixers is growing the game for sure.
I hit the wrong damn button. Give me a second here.
Q Mixer, right. You get a Q Mixer and do the right mix.
That's the right one. That's the button I was looking for, Andy Hydorn. Who's not growing their game?
Well, I believe that there's some commentary this week about the LIV guys not really growing their game. Is that where we're going with "Don't Be That Guy"?
Well, it's up on the screen, so go for it. Oh, wait a minute. You do this also.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. We got problems in the control truck out front, but so interesting commentary this week on LIV and on the state of LIV. A couple things to point out. Last year, the LIV finale, where John Rahm won, it was on the East Coast. It was in prime time, viewing time. It drew 55,000 people watching. The Players' Championship this week drew an average of 3.6 million watching and a high of 6 million. So are we really going to sit here and have the conversation that LIV is the alternative and it's destroying the PGA Tour? I don't think so. I think those numbers continue to tell the story of it being, not really an interesting thing for people. One other point that I'd like to point out too is they listed the top 15 money winners. And here's the problem. One of the problems I have with LIV. Top 15 money winners. And you know who's not in the top 15? The best player on LIV, Bryson DeChambeau. He's not in the top 15 money winners. So one of my criticisms always has been is that the golf isn't compelling enough for the players. If you look at Phil Mickelson last year, he didn't give two shits about his performance in LIV and came out and finished, what did he finish in the Masters? Tied for second or something close to that? So they're out there, they're doing things, preparing, but I just don't think they care enough about the golf product at LIV. And it kind of shows that the best players aren't really, popping to the top of those LIV leaderboards.
B.
I mean, I'm glad that we're finally talking about LIV. There's one viewer that seems to think that we never talk about LIV, but I hope he hears this show. But yeah, I mean, I think what people misconstrue with us sometimes is I think we're all on the same page about LIV the entity, but it doesn't mean we don't, want to see those players. I think most of us would love to see these players back in the mix. The Brysons, the Brookses, even Joaquin Niemann. I mean, Sergio just won a couple weeks ago. It'd be great to see Sergio on the leaderboard at Augusta. I mean, there's no denying that. Patrick Reed can keep playing on LIV, but the rest of them would be great to see them come back for sure.
Well, speaking of Joaquin Niemann, Bobby, Mickelson took to social and says he is not one of the top 5. He's number 1 in the world. Is there anyone number 1 in the world on LIV right now?
Wait a minute. I thought it was Taylor Gooch.
No, that was last week.
Oh, jeez.
Joaquin Niemann, number 1 player in the world.
Yeah, not quite, but he's playing well. We'll give
Is
credit
LIV
for
dead,
Bobby? Life support probably. I think we need to update Andy's thing to LIV report might be on LIV or change the
liver let die.
LIV support.
I want to get an update. Can I do an update? Brennan should do an update too. I want to see the tickers. Let's all do an update.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Andy. Let me see if I can do this correctly this time. You got one?
I do have one. So Luke Potter is a golfer for the University of Texas golf team. And he found it to be a really good idea to heckle Rory in the practice round at the Players about his performance at Augusta a few years back. And what for the life of me, I don't get is that you're a really good player, Luke Potter. What would make you think for 1 second that you would ever go there? Because every one of you are this close to having that Rory experience yourself. And if anybody knows I can see the armchair quarterback golfers, saying stuff like that. but somebody who plays the game at that level that you play it at, it blows my mind that he would do that. Little sidebar to that is Jack Gilbert, who's a member, and I'm friendly with his dad here at Champions. Jack Gilbert is the one who Rory took his phone. Rory took the wrong guy's phone. But yeah, I just think that's such a don't be that guy. Like what are you doing?
Says enough. All right, we're winding it down. 18th hole. Where'd my note go here? Bobby, you first.
Okay. Today happens to be first day of spring, I believe. And why doesn't all the listeners out there, if you played a golf for a while, new to golf, talk to somebody that's thinking about golf? The unofficial start is the Masters coming up in a couple of weeks. Go online, go to PGA.com, Google around you, and try to find a PGA or LPGA professional. Do yourself a favor. If you played golf for a while, get 1 or 2 lessons, get in a clinic, get a refresher. The best players in the world are working on fundamentals and basics. It's the best thing for help you play some better golf. In my golf shop the last couple of weeks, everybody's coming out after a cold, long, bad, wicked bad Kentucky winter and having these high expectations. They're rusty, no feel, too much pressure on themselves trying to get out there and play great golf the first round. Just get out, relax, go see your local PGA or LPGA professional, get a refresher lesson or 2. It's going to make your game a lot better, have more fun.
I'm actually going to jump in because I don't want Andy to steal this one. Monday Q, Andre Chi teed off today in the Valspar. If you're not familiar with him, the dude shoots 66 in the pre-Q, follows it up with a 67 in difficult Monday Q conditions in the field. And I believe, B, maybe you can help because you're down there in Florida. I don't think he's ever teed it up in a professional tournament before or something.
Just section stuff. That's it.
Unbelievable. So I don't know what he ended up shooting today. We're recording on Thursday, but got to root for a guy like that. B, what you got?
Only thing I'd like to do is say, if anybody can see that cool Masters sign customized behind me here,
very cool.
DM me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or anything, and I'll tell you how to get one of these. It's the lady that puts them together, does them not just for golf events, but baseball scoreboards, football scoreboards, hockey scoreboards. They're just really cool. So she has an Etsy shop, and I'll send you the info if you're interested.
I am interested. Andy?
So, and I know I said this before, but in Alan, to your point about the Masters being the start of the golf season, the Players is the start of the golf season for me. That's what kicks it off for me. And like I said, I love it. And it's the first of 5 months worth of the Players, the Masters, the PGA, the US, and then the Open Championship. It's just 5 great months of professional golf, which is awesome.
And this year, the Ryder Cup.
Yeah. Well, one final thought for me is I don't get the Rory hate, and there's a lot of Rory hate out there. I don't get it. And I got to tell you, listening to Rory, he's giving, he's articulate, he's thoughtful, he's opinionated, and I understand that people don't like other people that have opinions, but the amount of people that have a serious distaste for Rory McIlroy blows my mind. I wish we had 100 guys like him out there.
I think he's the best interview in the game.
Absolutely,
totally,
bar none. I mean, for all those reasons you just listed, Andy. If you can't get behind him, then you got the problem.
And there are chuck wagons full of people that can't stand him.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Chuck wagons. Wow, good term. That's like
all right, boys.
In hockey.
Yeah.
Until next week, we bid you adieu. Fairways and greens, gentlemen.
Adieu.
You only have one opportunity to sell your golf property. Shouldn't you partner with an expert that offers you 30-plus years of golf industry experience, combined with the reach of a global leader in real estate? Colliers International Golf Brokerage and Advisory Services understands your unique business needs. Whether it is brokerage, management, and consulting, be reassured that the market leader in the business of golf is providing you the real answers and practical solutions you deserve. Contact Golf Talk Live co-host and Colliers Golf Advisory Services member Alan Depew today at 717-554-8519. That's 717-554-8519.